Today I'll be reviewing Wheel of Time episode 4. I wasn't planning to do another review, but I was so happy with the episode and had so much that I wanted to talk about in it that I decided to go ahead and do another one. So a lot of this episode focuses around Logain, the false dragon, and I was a bit worried about what they were going to do with this character based on the previews. I had a suspicion that they were maybe going to combine him with another character, but I was very happy to see that these suspicions seem to be unfounded. So Logan's been given more attention so far than he gets in the early books, and we get this impression that he's a good man who's been afflicted by madness through channeling. And we see a few kind of moral decisions, such as when he's facing the King of Ghealdan and chooses to disarm him rather than murder him with the dagger. Which kind of tell us that Logan is a good person and he sees himself as the Dragon Reborn, primarily because the alternative is that he's just a dude who's going to go mad and die. So his story is really acting as a proxy for the overall story of the kind of dilemma or tragedy of the male channelers, that they either basically have to declare themselves as the dragon and cause a bunch of chaos, or they just kind of run away and get hunted down like animals by the Red Archer, which is what happened to Tom's nephew, Owen. And on that note, I'm really glad that they've included this story of Owen early in the TV show. We're learning more about Tom's past, finding out what his motive is for helping the boys, that he's guilty about the fact that he couldn't help his nephew. And this also leads on to the fact that Matt is sick and that Tom has seen similar symptoms, so they don't really mention it in the TV show. But for male channelers, the madness is often or always accompanied by a wasting sickness, which leads their body to kind of rot away. And so most male channelers, if they don't go crazy, they end up just getting sick and dying anyway. So the show is definitely maintaining the mystery around who will be the Dragon Reborn. We've had a few potential misdirects. For example, we hear Lan ask Moiraine whether Logan's power is as high as Egwene's. And we also see Nynaeve display this huge channeling power where she heals everyone in the room of basically fatal wounds simultaneously. And Logan seeing this as like the Radiant Sun, repeating the words that Moiraine had said to him earlier about how his power would compare to the Dragon Reborn. So I thought this scene was really fantastic. You really see in Logan's face and his eyes the despair and kind of defeat, realizing that he's not the Dragon Reborn. He's just a man who's going mad from channeling the male half of the Source and has probably already caused quite a bit of death and destruction. And after this, you see him basically just give up and accept being gentled, which again kind of indicates the kind of person that Logan is in terms of his morality. Not necessarily suggesting that Nynaeve is the Dragon Reborn, but the fact that the Dragon Reborn is going to be the greatest channeler of the age, just to see that there is another channeler stronger than him would be proof enough for Logan that he's not the dragon. So the show is really doing a good job of maintaining the mystery around the Dragon Reborn, and I think that's really nice for non-book audiences to keep them engaged in the show. But moving back to Matt, we get this really great scene of him bonding with the farmer's daughter, where we're again reminded about the care that he has for his sisters and the fact that he's probably worrying about them. There's this section where the girl asks, are they home safe with your mum and dad? And Matt just kind of pauses for a few seconds and you can kind of see what's ticking around behind his eyes that actually, no, they're probably not safe with mum and dad. So I think they're again doing a really good job of making Matt a relatable and likeable character in these early parts of the story. There's also a bit of an Easter egg or fan service in this scene where the girl introduces her doll as Birgitta. So book readers will recognise this character as basically a hero from legend who's constantly being churned out of the wheel, being reborn again, normally accompanied by her partner Ghealdan. And they're heroes that occur in many, many stories that basically everyone in the world would know. And then shortly after this we get this scene where Rand and Tom come upon Matt surrounded by the bodies of the family. And when I first saw this, I thought, oh no, they haven't done this. This would be absolutely irredeemable for the character, even if he is sick. But then he lifts the dagger, holding it like it's some kind of Harry Potter wand that he has no intention of using. And he says, I see you. And there's a freaking fade in the loft. The cojones on this guy are unbelievable. And there's this really tragic scene where Matt sees the body of the farmer's daughter, and there's this set in Barney Harris's jaw where you're like, yeah, that fade fucked around and it's going to find out. So I'm really enjoying what they're doing with Matt's character, and I'm a bit sad that Barney Harris won't be coming back for next season because I think he's doing such a good job, but hopefully the new actor will be able to fill his boots. To briefly mention some of the other things that I thought they did really well in this episode, the opening with Ghealdan, I thought they did a really good job of capturing the destruction and the chaos without trying to do a battle scene which would have required a huge budget. They used the kind of individual scene of Logain and the king with a couple of guards to show that confrontation, and then the burning city at the start to convey the destruction. We're also seeing Nynaeve kind of grudgingly coming to accept or respect the Aes Sedai through her interaction with the warders, and this relationship with Lan, which is being built on mutual respect and empathy. I think they're also continuing to do a great job with the action sequences involving the One Power, with the Aes Sedai and warders fighting together. The one thing I think they didn't do such a great job on was the warders' reaction to the Aes Sedai being killed. So the book describes this as a kind of blind rage, which definitely wasn't the sense I got from the show, despite the jumping with the axes. It's meant to be more like a kind of Hulk rage, just less green, and it's kind of important to several points in the story when warders go insane like this. So I think they could do a better job of capturing that. I also got the impression that he didn't actually know his Aes Sedai was dead until he saw her body, which really doesn't do justice to the bond between the Aes Sedai and Warder that they've been generally doing a good job of showing throughout the show. And we didn't see much of Perrin and Egwene this episode, probably because what's going on with them is objectively the most boring thing at the moment. But I do actually really like what they've done with the Tinkers in this episode. So they've kind of shown them as more philosophical rather than naive. I got the impression in the books that Jordan was kind of portraying them as just naive idiots who think they can be peaceful in the middle of wartime. But we're getting much more of a philosophical mindset, like it's a lifestyle choice that they've thought about and come to accept or come to allow to define their life. So overall, I was really impressed with this episode. I think they've moved away from the tropes that they allowed to slip into the first episode or two. I did still hear a couple of banjos, but they were a bit more forgivable this time. I'm going to give the episode a 9.5 out of 10. I think the water rage was the only thing really that I thought they could have done better. Besides that, I thought the episode was really exciting, and it seems to be tracking pretty closely along with the books, so I'm happy about that. And I'm really excited now to see more episodes.